crazy video that really mesmerized me. It was a video that's been viral. Perhaps you've seen it. It was a video of a bus making a U-turn on a mountain road with a cliff on both sides. There's no guardrails. And so this bus pulls up, another car passes it, and then this bus, for some reason, tries to make this U-turn. It's a full-size bus, a big bus. And you see the bus going forward, and it's teetering over, and then somehow the driver goes back, and he keeps going back and forth, cliffs on either side. And you're just mesmerized thinking, oh, there's no way this is going to happen. It's going to fall over. It's going to be horrible. But it keeps going back and forth, teetering, tottering. And somehow the bus makes that U-turn. It's just a 2-lane road with a cliff on both sides. And you're just mesmerized. How does this work? And so I was astounded by this video. And then it made me look online. Where this happened? What place is this? Where is this location? And I did a little bit of research, and pretty quickly I found out it was fake. It was not a real video. I mean, the bus looked real. Everything around it looked real. But there is this debunking video that showed, look, here's where the computer animation showed its glitch over here. Here's where the bus went over bushes that were not flattened at all. And I have to say, I was a little disappointed. I really liked the original video I saw. It was just amazing, this bus going back and forth. But it was all fake. It was lifelike, but it wasn't real. I was impressed by something that someone had engineered for that purpose of getting clicks, of being shared. But I want to ask, what do you find impressive? That's the question for us today. And what is captivating our attention? Because it's not always real. It's not always something that deserves our attention. And things that seem impressive and that seize our imaginations and our minds keep going, many of those things, they shouldn't be things that we look at, because these things don't often last. They're not real. They're not what we should be looking at or giving our praise to. So I want to ask, you can put in the chat line, what impresses you? What are the things that you just say, okay, yeah, this feat of something, like I mentioned, the driver doing the U-turn on the bus. Is it something as dangerous that impresses you? Daredevils? Is it something in the news that you follow? Is it natural disasters? Is it feats of sporting athletes or something else? We had one chat, skilled musicians. Yeah, so Jeremy says maybe you're thinking about Eddie Van Halen, how he passed away not too long ago. Other things that might be impressive to us, you can feel free to share. But I want you to think about, what is it that impresses you, and what impact does that have on us? Because that's what we see here in Revelation 17. We see these things that seem impressive, Babylon, the great, the beast, all these things that seem to seize our imaginations. They seize the imagination of the prophet John. But God, through his angel, is saying, no, don't look at that. Don't wonder, don't marvel at these things. And so we see here, after the bowls of wrath are poured out in Revelation 16, we see here in Revelation 17 a look at what is going on. So an angel guides John behind the veil to see more of what's going on. So it says, one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came, this is verse 1 of chapter 17, came and said to me, this is John, come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk. So we see Revelation chapter 17. It's not G-rated. It goes into things that we don't talk about in polite conversation. It mentions the word prostitute or harlot, words we don't throw around in polite company, the things that are not put in children's Bible stories. But it's here. And it's impossible for us as Christians who say all of Scripture is God-breathed and useful for teaching, rebuking, training in righteousness. It's impossible for us to overlook it. So we're going to look at this image of the prostitute, which is found not just here, but throughout Scripture, symbolizing unfaithfulness to God. There's an entire Old Testament book, Hosea, that's about this metaphor. Other prophets use this image for both Jewish and Gentile cities. So prostitution is a graphic depiction of, yes, shameful immorality, the worship of false gods that are called idols, but it also gives us a metaphor through which to view reality and view our relationship to God. So the Old Testament will portray God as a faithful husband, while his people are described as prostitutes to the nations, to false gods who are not faithful but faithless. And we see Jesus himself comparing the Jewish people of his own day as an adulterous generation, unwilling to believe, unwilling to be faithful to the true God. So we see this, and we're uncomfortable with this language, but even Jesus uses this imagery. We see the Bible talking about prostitution literally and symbolically. Now, for children here among us, they should know that a prostitute's a woman who does bad things, making money, and getting other people to do bad things with her. You can just put it that way. Adults now, we may have a broader perspective. But the point is that God uses words and images, making us uncomfortable, but not without any purpose. He uses them not for shock value, but to teach us valuable lessons that can't be taught any other way. So here we see in Revelation 17, Babylon seducing the kings of the earth and the dwellers on earth to become drunk with immorality. What does she do? She distracts and she intoxicates. She makes the earth dwellers numb to reality so she can take advantage of them. Babylon the Great is described as not so much as a city in the ways that we look at it, but more of a cultural system that utilizes technology. We see later on ships and waters, the engines of commerce, and all technology that take us away from the faithful life, a life of worshiping the true God, of having family, work, and school. And it says it entices everyone to do this, to hop on Instagram, see what's going on, go on TikTok, be entertained, or Twitter and get yourself all worked up in anger. Turn on Netflix or cable news. Remove yourself from reality, get instant gratification, get your hit of dopamine, because when you see these things, your dopamine levels spike, your smartphone pings, and you can go to Babylon to have your fix, whether it be a substance, entertainment, pornography, comedy, one-click shopping and shipping in 2 days. This is what Babylon is in essence. It's this system that entices us. And all of us, we should recognize Babylon as something that we deal with on a daily basis. These interlocking systems that seduce us, that draw us away from God. And so now we see in verse 3, more of the angel and what he does with John. He says, the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. And I saw a woman, this is Babylon, the woman, sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names. It had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls. So we have this alluring imagery. And holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead, or perhaps her headband, was written a name of mystery: Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of earth's abominations. So this angel from chapter 16, which poured out the wrath of God, is showing John the spiritual reality of Babylon and the beast. One of the angels that poured out the wrath of God. And now he's going to show John more of what's going on and how we rightly respond to this imagery of God's revelation. Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes, is the opposite and a parody of the other woman of Revelation, who is the bride of Christ, the people of God that we saw earlier, fighting against the dragon. And we see in Revelation 21, she's revealed as the spotless and pure bride of Christ. So whereas the bride of Christ is faithful, the people of God are faithful, Babylon is faithless to God and promiscuous with everyone to the nth degree. She has no patience for committed love, only one night stands. Babylon is never fully present with anyone, but she's always looking for the next great thing. She only knows how to seduce, not how to love. Babylon is the way earth dwellers are trained to live. That's how we are being trained by these systems. Without consciously knowing it, we give in to her seductions, her deceptions, and she encourages the selfish desires that naturally come to us. She encourages them to flourish, to be unhindered. And so this Babylon is over all the kings of the earth who go to her, but she's threatened. And the way she's threatened is she's threatened by those who refuse to give in to her, to live by her lies, to live by her manipulations, those who constantly choose faithfulness instead of faithlessness, who say, no, I have these selfish desires, but I have allegiance to the true God. I am of the bride of Christ. I am not of the prostitute Babylon. And they refuse her intoxications as God keeps their head straight, looking at him, the creator, the true God. And so rooted in God, genuine Christians can see through Babylon's BS, because Christians can upset Babylon's delusions of grandeur by speaking the gospel, by believing the gospel. She knows they must be stopped. So verse 6 and following, I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled greatly. So this is John. He's full of wonder. King James says admiration even of this woman. Verse 7, but the angel said to me, why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers on earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will marvel to see the beast, because it was and is not and is to come. So the angel is saying, why are you astounded by this prostitute? Why do you marvel about her intoxication over killing people? Why are you captivated by her so-called beauty? And the beast who was and is not, and in the end is going to destruction. Yes, they're evil. Of course they are. Do you think that following the Lamb is supposed to be easy? The angel says, do you think that the Christian life is about tiptoeing through the tulips? No, the Christian life is about having victory over sin and every form of evil. The Christian may be persecuted and killed, but it's Christ who raises them in triumph over all their enemies. So do not be astonished by the evil that is destined to destruction, the angel says. Be astonished instead by the Lamb's victory. So what if the whole world is gawking at someone who's supposed to be important? It doesn't matter what they think. Their names are not in the book of life. So the angel repeats this phrase, talking about the beast who was and is not and is to come. Like Babylon, the prostitute, is a parody of God's people, the bride of Christ. This is an obvious parody of God as the great I am, who was and is to come. The beast was, the beast is not, and it is to come, and when it comes, it's doomed. So the angel's saying, don't pay attention to the beast. Yes, he's big and scary, but he will meet his destruction. He won't last. Perhaps this beast was Emperor Nero. It says this beast is not existing today when he speaks to John, but he will come in a succession of the future kings. Caleb just read that passage where we have the 7 mountains or hills on which the harlot Babylon sits. They represent the 7 hills of Rome, the city of Rome in all likelihood. We don't know exactly what the 10 horns of the 10 kings represent. Some say the 10 provinces of a Rome-like empire, which will come to dominate the world. But don't marvel about those things, because the angel says, verse 12, they will receive authority as kings with the beast for how long? 1 hour. And that's it. They have one purpose, and they give their power and authority to the beast. So all this is interesting prophecy, but according to this angel messenger, none of this is astonishing. So we're not supposed to get all worked up about the beast or Babylon the Great or the horns or what all these things mean. The description of these things in these events are intended to show God's complete sovereignty over all things, even his demonic enemies. Though they're impressive to John and they impress us in these descriptions, the cup of blood and all this, the beast, the false prophet, the dragon, the harlot, they're all just 2-bit players destined for ruin. Verse 14 summarizes this. They will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them because, why? He is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who are with him are the called, the chosen, and the faithful. So this is where to put your wonder, the angel says. This is where you must be amazed. All the world, all the powers of Satan, his demons, they all will wage war against the Lamb. And what happens? The Lamb conquers them. The victors aren't the most impressive, talented, or aggressive. The victors are not the most clever or deceptive. The victors are those who are with the Lamb, the called, the chosen, and the faithful. Be impressed not by the evil in this world, but be impressed by the gospel. This is what's truly astonishing. This is what's worthy of wonder. How God came to reclaim his rebellious creation. How? By sending his son as a lamb to be slain, and a lamb to be raised from the dead. All of the worst monsters you can imagine, and all the most terrifying things that really do exist, all of them will be obliterated. This is the marvelous news we need to hear. This is what should occupy our imaginations. If you're reading Revelation and you're dwelling upon the beasts and the blood and the prostitutes and the horns, you're reading Revelation wrong. Fascination and morbid curiosity about dragons and beasts, that's not why we study Revelation. We study Revelation to be astonished, to be in wonderment of God's power, God's goodness, his beauty, and his complete victory over all evil. The angel asks us, why do you marvel at this? That's a question for John. It's a question for us. Of course, evil is going to do evil. Evil is going to evil until it destroys itself with evil. That's the plot line of Revelation. Get your eyes off the despicable blood, the false worship, the prostitution. The angel says, all this has been happening from the beginning. Remember the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11? They said, let's build a city and make our name great. And now here's Babylon the Great coming back for one last reprise. And what happens? The harlot of Babylon is the same thing. She meets the same doom. All the bad stuff, the angel says, we angels know. All this bad stuff, we just call it Tuesday. What's truly marvelous isn't this stuff, bad stuff, but it's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the Lamb who conquered sin and death, the Lamb who chose us by his grace to be with him from the foundation of the world. This is the same point that Jesus made. He sent out his disciples. They couldn't believe how powerful they were in his name, casting out demons, healing people, those things that we consider signs and wonders. And what did Jesus say? Don't rejoice that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice in what? That your names are written in heaven. That's what's truly marvelous. Rejoice that your names are written in heaven. That's the most unlikely thing that's ever happened. And we all can benefit from this immeasurably through the gospel. The stone that the builders have rejected has become what? The capstone. The Lord has done this, and it's become marvelous in our eyes. Incredibly, the Lamb is the conquering king, and Babylon, the so-called great, the richest and most alluring of all cities, will be devoured by those who used to call her by the name of lover. And all this is the Lord's doing. Just like the original Babel, the Lord will confuse his enemies and cause them to turn in on one another. So we pick up the story, the end, verse 15. The angel said to me, the waters you saw where the prostitute is seated are the peoples and the multitudes and the nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will hate the prostitute. They will make her desolate and naked and devour her flesh and burn her up with fire. For God has put into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being of one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman you saw is a great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth. The once great city that controlled the earth is now a heap of ruins, or will become a heap of ruins. The prouder they are, the harder they fall. Those who rely on deceptive charm and sordid gain, they have a payday coming. And when that payday comes, look out, because those who show no mercy will receive no mercy. In verse 3, we see a woman sitting on the beast. One commentator says the verb is saying she's riding on the scarlet beast. So she rides on the beast, but in the end, the untamed beast got the best of her. A sudden turn of events astonishes us, but it doesn't faze the angel in the least. This is what always happens. This is what had to happen. Here in 2020, we see events that astonish us, that send us reeling. Wars, remember the fires in Australia? Hurricanes, and of course a pandemic, an election now with extraordinary accusations of fraud. We wonder at these things, but we shouldn't be consumed by them. We don't know exactly what's going on, but to an angel who's been with God from the beginning, it's just a Tuesday in a world in rebellion against God. If we Christians believed in depravity, as the Bible teaches, that the world without Christ is hopelessly lost and confused, if we truly believe this, we wouldn't be shocked by the depravity we see around us. Now, we shouldn't be happy about it, but we shouldn't be shocked about 2020. This is the pattern that we see throughout Scripture and throughout history. Our lives are not exceptions to the rule, even Americans' lives. What should astound us is not the bad things, but the goodness of God and the wonder of the Lamb's triumph. That our names are written in the book of life. We have nothing to fear. I'm afraid many of us, including myself, we've given into Babylon so much that we've lost our ability to wonder at the beautiful things because we've been trained to be astonished by evil and not the good. We need to heed the angel's question and obey what the Apostle Paul says. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's any excellence, anything worthy of praise, think about such things. Marvel at the goodness of God. That's what's truly remarkable. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. That's what's truly marvelous, that his divine power has given us everything we need for life. 1 Peter says, everything we need for life is given to us through his divine power, godliness through our knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and goodness. So instead of being astonished by bad things, by the morbid things, let us look at the wonders our ancestors couldn't dream of. Things God made possible through gifts to the world. Even the fact that the lights are on and we can do this through Zoom, or that I have a cup of coffee that I can drink without being fear of getting dysentery, or we don't have to walk down to get clean water and we don't have to worry about being assaulted in this nation of ours. God is so wonderful and has done so many good things. Let us be astonished at that. Good is more marvelous than evil. Beauty is more wonderful than ugliness. Truth is more amazing than falsity. So Babylon may look impressive now, but Babylon never lasts. From Genesis 11 to Revelation 17, Babylon never ends well. So pay attention to what you pay attention to. Recognize how Babylon makes us all miserable and refuse to go along with its propaganda. Turn off the prostitute siren song and instead sing songs about God's faithful love. Because evil is too stupid to occupy ourselves with. Selfishness always self-destroys. The crowd may fawn over the next great thing, but the one great God is the only one who can conquer all. Others may impress us for an hour, but there's only one who's truly wonderful, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.